Okay, welcome back. Today we have a Hantarex Polo 25-inch that is completely dead. You turn it on, nothing. No chirping, no signs of life, no nothing. Like you plug it in, turn it on, and it does nothing, like it's not even plugged in. And this came from an operator's warehouse in Kansas City. I have a friend up in Kansas City who bought an old operator's warehouse out. Actually, two warehouses. Or I think they might even have been storage units. I can't quite recall how he described it, but there were a couple of monitors in there, and he asked if I was interested. I said, sure. Yeah, he didn't want them, didn't even plug them in, turn them on, so he had no idea if they worked. He said, hey, I've got these, you want them? I said, absolutely. So the other one was a K7000 that actually worked, but just needed normal stuff, caps, reflow and stuff, and it worked fine, so it wasn't really worth making a video on. I've got tons of videos about that already. It didn't need any actual troubleshooting or repair or rework. It just needed some normal, a rebuild and call it good. But this one, though, is going to be, I think it might be quite an adventure, and I hope not, but we'll see. But it does nothing. First thing I noticed is that, I do want to mention that it did not have a remote board. The remote board was missing. I went through my parts chassis over here in the closet and found a remote board. There's no pegs for it, but we've got some pegs here that we can rob for putting in here for adjusting, but it had no remote board. The degauss connector is missing, completely gone, so I'll have to rob one of those from a parts chassis. And what else was it? It appears to have some caps changed, but not all of them. Like all these caps here, none of these have been replaced, but they've changed out these three and possibly this one. So it's hard to tell, but I guarantee I can tell from looking that none of these have been changed. These are all original, but they've changed out these green ones in here. And this one over here is bulging. If we look here, I don't know if you can tell, but this one here is bulging up. So that one's bad. So with this being totally dead, I don't know really what we're going to find out here. If we look at I do want to mention that the power connector here, I don't know if it's not powering up because of a problem or because of this. I can't tell from just a quick look because it's covered up by the plate. But if we look at the actual power connector, it's nice and wobbly here. So I don't know if the solder joints are broken and that's why it's not working, but we'll find out. So yeah, I guess the first thing to do would be to take the cage off. It's nice and rusty. And the filter caps are bulging. It's not uncommon for the filter caps on the Polo here to be bulging, but and still work. But I always change them out because I've seen a lot of these be dead or not work properly because of bad filter caps. So we're gonna have to check that out, and someone's already had all this apart. Should be able to just snap this out of here. Nope. Let's take the bottom plate off. Man, somebody did a number on this thing. Jeez. I don't want to damage anything. Yeah, well, it may not have turned on because we don't have any AC connection. While we have that off, let's tweak out this cover here. Yeah, look at these filter caps here. They're bulging off at the top, so we'll have to change those out for sure. But I think our voltage problem is this right here. And I don't know if we're making connection enough when I bend this. So let's solder that back together, put it back on the tube and see if it has any signs of life with these fixed, because they're completely cracked and broken. As a matter of fact, I might even be able to just take this whole thing out of here. Yep. Look at that. So let's put that back in. And in the meantime, let's make sure the fuse is good, of course. Fuse is good. All right. Oh, no, I'm a moron. Sorry, let's do it the proper way. There we go. Okay, that's the fuse. And one thing I see here is that someone's reworked some of these flyback pins because that one's lifted slightly. And one normal thing, these resistors take a lot of abuse and bending. So we're going to check to make sure these solder joints aren't cracked or broken. So we'll remove this thing. And we're interested in, yeah, this joint here is lifted slightly. This one right here. So let's just reflow that as well. Or actually, let's just bridge it over to the next pad here. If it cooperate. There we go, that'll work. Now let's hit this one. And this one up here is actually in fairly good shape, but we'll reflow it anyway. And let's give this a look over and make sure that everything is good. Now I want to check this one here that's been butchered a bit. Okay, that's fine. Let's give this a look over. Lots of oxidized solder joints and pads, but don't really see anything that bad. So let's get this soldered back in. Could it possibly just be a broken joints on the AC input connector? It very well could be. Interested to see if it'll work with this bulging cap over here. And it's also very normal. It's quite normal for this resistor to be completely burned up and open, but I don't really see any heat damage around here. Normally there's heat damage all around here and this resistor is burned up, but this appears to be okay. If it doesn't work properly, we'll measure it later, but yeah, all right, well, now that we have that soldered back in, let's hook it back up to the tube and see if it turns on or powers up and what it does. If it's still completely dead, then we'll have to proceed from that point, but let's just, of course, you never ever want to power these up without a remote board installed, so we'll make sure we get that hooked back up as well. But let's get the tube back over here and get this back on it and see if it was just broken solder joints. Look at how dirty this is now. Oh, you can't see it, but maybe we can get a different angle on this. Look how dirty, all that dirt. This is pretty filthy. I mean, it's not dirt, it's just, I don't really know how to describe it. That's a bit better. All this stuff on the flyback here. All right, well, let's get it on a tube and see if it works now. All right, so we're on the original dedicated tube. It's nice and tired. I can tell from the phosphor, but yeah, so I have just in case it does turn on and works, I want to see what kind of image we get. So I have the TPG ready to go in case it does operate. We have it all hooked back up properly. Anode neck, yoke, ground, power, video remote. So, of course, I say video is not necessary for power, but just in case it does work. So, okay, we're plugged in right there. So let's see if it turns on now. 1, 2, 3. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just as before, and that's very odd. Maybe, well, when I had this earlier, I noticed that was wiggling when I hooked this up, so I took it and put some pressure on it and turned it on, and nothing happened. So obviously there is still something majorly wrong. We know our fuse is good. We now know our AC input's good, but this does absolutely nothing. Let's turn it on again. 1, 2, 3. I do hear a little tick. There is a little tick from the power supply side. Let's go over here and see if we can hear it. Okay, I'm going to turn it on. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's a slight tick from that transformer there. Well, I guess the first step here is... Wait a minute. What is that? Oh. Like I said, many a Polo has been dead from bad filter caps. That one you can clearly see is bulging out the top, and look at all that electrolyte. All right, well, I think we found our problem. Hopefully, at least part of the problem. Let's get this back out of here. Take those filter caps out and see if we can look at the horror and carnage that awaits us underneath those caps. Let's get these caps out of here. This one is really bulging. I don't know if you can even tell. But yeah, like I've said before, foreshadowing, the filter caps being bad can cause the chassis to be totally dead. So I've seen it before, and looking underneath here, oh God, that's bad. And we can even kind of tell that it's been leaking because look what it's done to the solder joint here. This may be pretty bad. This might be one of the worst ones I've ever seen. Let's oh yes. Look at that. Wow. There's my thumbnail right there. Nice. Now let's look at the other one. Oh, both of them. Well, there you go. If you got a Hantarex Polo and you do a cap kit, you must replace the filter caps, in my opinion, because they are some of the most notorious culprits for causing issues and having a dead Polo. Look at that. Wow. Yikes. Let's clean this off of here. That might even have eaten through the board a bit. Let's get some alcohol and wipe that down. Actually, you know what? Let's use our fiberglass pen here, actually. There we go. Okay, there you go. Fixed. Not bad, not bad. Okay, now let's check these other components around it. Yeah, that one's fine. Is it? This resistor is what I'm talking about. It's not. That is cracked, ladies and gentlemen. Polo, why do you do this to me? Not connected? Connected. Not connected? Connected. Well, that's why a reflow on every chassis you ever work on, inspection and reflow is always important. It doesn't like that for some reason. But we're gonna and that's pretty ugly. Pretty ugly? Is that an oxymoron? Pretty ugly? Alright, that's better. Anything else here? No, that all seems okay. Alright, so let's change these filter caps. And just for sheer curiosity, I want to see if changing these filter caps will make it work now, with nothing other than just changing the filter caps. So let's grab some of this here and get rid of this old stuff. This is the old stuff. I will desolder for you. Desolder for you. I kicked the habit. Shed my caps. These are the old caps. And I just so happen to have oh no, I don't have these are 200 volt 470, and I was like, I just happen to have some 470s, but these are 4700, so I've got, do I have 470s? Oh, there's one. I got a bunch of filter caps here. Let's see here. 250 volt 470. If we look here, 200 volt 470 and 250 volt 470. So here's one, and I think I just may have another one. Look at that. On hand, ready to go, fantastic. Now I gotta order two more because those are the last two I have, but that should get us going here. Let's get these suckers in here and hook it back up. Of course, we're gonna have to do a full cap kit, especially for this one over here that's bulging, but that could be caused by anything. Okay, negative is inboard. Negative is inboard. We certainly wouldn't want to put these in backwards. Not that I've ever put a filter cap in backwards before, but there we go. And solder them in. Or solder them in, depending on what part of the world you're from. I've even heard people say solder, like they're from the South, but they're combining solder and solder and say solder. I've heard all kinds of stuff. Okay, well, there we go. Looks like they're in series with each other. We got positive on this side, and it goes through this one to negative, to the positive of this one, and then through negative to that one. So it looks like they're in series there, because it comes in positive, it goes through this one, out the negative, into the positive of this one, out the negative of this one to the rest of it. So these are in series with each other. Interesting. All right, well, we got those in there. Let's mark them off. and let's see if it works now. Alright, just like last time, got everything hooked up and ready to go. Let's turn the TPG on just in case it does work. And yeah, will those new filter caps be the source of our problem? Or our major problem? I don't know. Let's find out. 1, 2, 3. No. Nothing. Absolutely no change. We are plugged in and hooked up, so again, all we hear is this little tick. Let's see if we can capture it here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's a little tick. That's all I get. Nothing. Okay, well, yeah, I thought for sure that would have done something. Turn that back off. Interesting. Well, looks like we're going to have to do a little bit more perusal and see if we can, maybe there's another resistor that's out of circuit or a broken solder joint, or what I'm going to do is go through with a fine-tooth comb and give this a really good look over. Really good look over. And if I find anything of note, I will come in and cut in and show it. If not, I'll come back with the cap kit and reflow done, and then we can go through and maybe test some things. I don't know, we'll see. Let's play it by ear, but obviously this will come right back off of here, and let's play around with it. And if anything of note, I will come in and show it, and we'll see what we can figure out. Well, I was going to poke around here off camera and just see if I could find something else, but you know, those filter caps being out of the circuit could have damaged something further down the road here. So I was going to poke around off camera, but I thought, well, I'll poke around on camera just to see, because there's no reason why you guys can't share in the knowledge with me if I find something. So first thing we're going to do is go to the HOT. Now the HOT is right here. So we're going to check that to make sure it's not bad. Like any other HOT, the diode checker on the meter, negative on the middle, and each outer leg should be 0.5 voltage drop. And we get 0.483 and 0.483. So HOT is okay. Since somebody knackered with the flyback, I will check all the pins for continuity. Make sure that that's all okay. That one's fine. That one's fine. That's no connection. This one goes to here. This one goes to here. This one's a ground. This one goes to here. This one goes to here. Okay, so all the connections for the flyback are okay. Let's start checking some of these power resistors and the power supply. You know, it could just simply be faulty caps in the power supply, because no one, like this one hasn't been changed. And these two haven't been changed, and so on and so forth. So we got a MOSFET here. We can check our MOSFET. That's this guy right there. And let's flip this over. And that guy is right here. So we'll go back to diode mode, and we'll go, okay, 1.0. Then we should have our voltage drop to this one. Yep, 0.5. So that's good. Let's look at some solder joints here. A lot of things like to crack in this area over here. We never did test for continuity on our repair for the power connector. That's good. That's ground. Okay, so yeah, as I figured, that's not the issue. Let's test some of these resistors here. I don't know offhand. This one should be 470 ohms. And can I get in there without going on the bottom here? 470 ohms. 480, that's fine. I don't know what this one here is supposed to be, but we're going to test it anyway. 15K. 14K, I imagine that's probably okay. It's not open, so I'm not worried about it. Over here, let's make sure we have continuity on these ones that always get broken. That's fine. Now that one goes here. That's fine. Someone's changed that cap out. We already fixed this one. Those are fine. Ba, 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 ba. Just looking things over. We've got, not sure what that is. Some type of component here that doesn't appear to be soldered in too well. Right here. So let's hit that. All right. Not sure if you could see that. I moved it around a bit. I don't really see much else. We may end up just having to do a reflow and a cap kit and then see where we're at. But I think we have a power supply problem. Oh, my soldering iron's going into it's going into not shutdown mode, it's going into standby mode. I gotta let it heat back up here. 505, 15, 25. Okay, there we go. I don't see anything with the transformer, but there's always more that meets the eye with those. Yeah, I guess what we'll do, I don't see anything overly jumping out at me. Let's try and do our light bulb test, and I can't recall, I know that you test B plus at this P112 jumper, and I can't recall exactly how to do the light bulb test on the Polo. I think you take this L105 jumper out, because that's all ground. Yeah, let me look it up here. Pretty sure you take out this L105 jumper, because the only thing that's connecting the power supply side to the main chassis side, or the output side, is this jumper here and this coil, or this inductor. This inductor here and this coil are directly taking the two sides together. Well, I think this inductor is as well. It's been so long since I've done the light bulb test on a Polo. Let me look it up how to do it. I'll explain it, and we'll do the light bulb test and see if we have a power supply issue or an output side issue. Let me look it up and we'll see. Okay, so I actually couldn't find a video of me ever doing this. I swear I had done this before, but maybe I was mistaken, because I couldn't find any of my videos where I actually do a light bulb test on the Hantarex Polo, and I couldn't find anybody else that had done a light bulb test on a Hantarex Polo. So, I mean, just using logic here, is there's three outputs from the power supply to the main board, the rest of the board. There are these three components here. There's this inductor, and this jumper. I just took all three of them out of the circuit. I don't know if all three of them need to be out or not. So I took all three of them out of the circuit, and that isolates the power supply from the rest of the board. So I have plugged in power to it, and if I turn this on, B plus should be like 160 volts. If I turn this on, we should get around 160 unregulated voltage, and we get 112. And if I do the light bulb test here, let's touch this to ground and touch this to the bulb does not light up, but our voltage drops to 0.3. So with a load on the system, we get 0.3 volts for our B plus. So now where I'm testing is this inductor here. Normally you test B plus right here at this P112 jumper, and it goes right across this inductor straight to P112. So I'm testing where B plus should be on a normal setup. And look, without the load on it, it goes back to 113. This should be 160 volts. So there's something wrong with our power supply section. And see, under load, it drops to 3. So I'm going to have to troubleshoot this power supply section and figure out exactly what's going on. I don't know if it's the switch mode power supply chip or bad caps. I'm going to start by replacing all of the caps. There's only like 4 of them. There's one, actually, well, no, there's 1, 2, buckle my shoe, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the filter caps. Let me change the caps in the power supply here, do some reflows. Let's see if we can get our power supply section working properly and kind of go from there. The B plus is set right in the middle. That's where it really should be. On any other Polo, it's right kind of smack dab in the middle. Now, we can wipe it back and forth, but right about smack dab in the middle is where it's usually set to. So that was okay. But let me change the caps out. We know our MOSFET checks okay. Let me change the caps out, do a reflow in the power supply, and come back and see if that helps us out at all with this. All right, so all the caps in the power supply have now been replaced, and wouldn't you know it, this 50 volt 47 microfarad and this 250 volt 10 microfarad were both leaking. And if we look here, I don't know, there you go. This one's leaking out of that leg, and this one, my fingers are dirty. Sorry from working on this, but yeah, there you go. So we had 2 caps that showed signs of leakage. The rest of them didn't, but we changed them all out anyway, and so far we've got 4 caps in the power supply section that showed heavy signs of leakage. There weren't any other ones that showed signs of leakage, but that's everything. So with these 3 components lifted out of the circuit, the entire power supply is isolated. So now if we turn this on, I'm hoping that we get some different results here. So we have our positive lead hooked up to our inductor that feeds our B plus source. I don't know if you need all 3 of these out, but I'd rather play it safe than sorry. So I removed all 3 of these components out of the circuit, as we saw and I've talked about. But we have the red lead going to our positive of our meter, the black lead here going to, from the frame going to the meter. And when I was testing before, I don't think that this actually goes to ground. If we measure this in continuity, I don't think this plate actually goes to ground. It doesn't. So we're going to have to use this plate here as our ground. So let's go back to hooking this up. So we got to hook up our positive to the B plus source, our negative to this part of the frame here, and this is going to go to the positive as well. Let's go back to volts DC, and we're stuck at 2.52 volts because I'm sure some of this is still charged from before. All right, so now let's see what we have now. Again, our B plus should be around 160 or so unregulated when it's working. And then if it works, we'll hopefully be able to touch this to here and have it go down. So what was that? Oh yeah, see, there's nothing. All right, well, let's see if it's bad caps in the power supply and cross our fingers here. 1, 2, 3. Boom. All right, we heard the click. 187, holy cow, let's turn this off, hold on. Why is it going up when I turned it off? There it goes down. Now we can discharge it by just tapping this to ground. There we go. And, okay. Now let's try that again, because now these Polos will come on, take about 3 seconds, and then click on. So let's see here, 1, 2, 3. There we go, click. Okay, so, all right, looks like bad caps. And if we touch this to here, what's going to happen? Ah, ta-da! All right. It's hard to show this here. There we go. Look at that, fantastic. All right, so now you have a functioning power supply. Okay, let's turn this off. So let's put these back in. Actually, you know what? We need to discharge this. There we go. All right, let's put these back in. And you know, I'd like to turn it on the way that it is right now and see if it works, but with this cap over here bulging and everything, I don't know if I want to do that. So I think what I'm going to do is put these back in, do a full cap kit and reflow, since all these caps, well, since 4 out of these caps over here were leaking with obvious evidence of leakage. I'm sure the rest of them were actually bad as well. And none of these have been changed except for these green ones. I'm going to go ahead and just do a full cap kit and a full reflow, and then we'll hook it up and turn it on. So when I come back, we'll have all that done. I'll show it off, then we'll hook it up and test it and see what's going on. Now, I just noticed that I heard, when I was working on this, I heard something fall and hit the floor. I didn't bother to look and see what it was, but it was the other half of my HOT restrictor here. This little hold down thing that holds the HOT in place. It was so rusted that it just fell into 2 pieces. And now it won't hold the HOT in place. So I need to grab one off of a donor chassis if I can find one, because that needs to be held in place against the heatsink. So let me do that, get all the work done, and then we'll come back and hook it up and see if it works. Oh, my phone fell off my holder over there. Let's see if it works, because I'm confident now that it should at least do something. With now that we have a functional power supply, I'm hoping that it should at least do something. So I'm going to get all this work done, come back, and we'll see where we're at with that, or we'll see where we're at that point. Easy for me to say. Well, and just like that, we're all done. Full cap kit, full reflow. I went through the neck board, make sure everything was good with the neck board. I reflowed that as well. I took these pegs here and I used these to set all of the color pots to center. And I also set all of the pots on the remote board to center, and so we don't have something that's way off and cause damage or something. So yeah, again, this was missing the remote board, and I had an extra one in the parts closet over here, so lucked out with that. There weren't any other caps that had obvious signs of leakage or bad, except for the one that was over here, and that was this one. So we had in total 5 visually bad caps, and I don't know if the rest of them were actually bad or not, but that was killing our power supply, and who knows why that was. I'm worried that the flyback might be bad, but this could have been bulging by some other reason, and I was able to source a new clip for the HOT. So yeah, I think we're ready to put this back together, get it on a tube, and turn it on and see if we just simply had bad caps or not. So let's do that and find out. All right, here we go. Will it turn on and work for the first time in what I assume are years? There's actually a sticker here that says repaired chassis, horizontal circuit, 1997. So I also realized I forgot to put that connector on the board for the degauss cable. So the connector is still missing. We'll have to pull this off and redo that, because here's the connector for it. So that won't keep it from powering on and working. So I have test pattern generator ready to go. Let's just go ahead and turn it on just for the hell of it. And we have our remote board set up and our meter ready to read B+. Positive goes to this jumper right there. Negative, we're just gonna have it hooked right here to the tube frame. So let's find out. Is it bad caps? I don't know. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. You know, every single time I forget to count to 7, I forget something. Forgot to hook up power. Every stinking time. So now we have anode, neck, yoke, ground, powered video, and remote. I was missing the power. Trust me, everything else is hooked up. I always forget something when I don't count to 7. I don't always do it on camera, but anyway, let's do it here again. 1, 2, 3. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I don't even get the chirp this time. We're hooked up. Oh, no we're not. I didn't snap it in. I tell you, man. I tell you, sometimes it's just one of those days. Take 3. 1, 2, 3. No. I heard the chirp, and we obviously got good power supply action. but I got nothing on the output. I'm suspectful of the flyback being bad because that cap was bulging. This cap here, coming off the flyback circuit, was bulging, and I didn't really do any other testing off of that circuit. I mean, I could have bad diodes or something here, but yeah. Let's try that again. Okay, we get the power supply to turn on, but there's no draw at all. There's no load on the power supply whatsoever, so the output side is dead. Oh man, the plot thickens again. So at least we know our power supply is okay. We're gonna have to see what's going on. Now I know that there's been issues before where the horizontal circuit has been out of commission due to this TH102, I think it is. And if we look here, there's a little bit of corrosion on there. So we could have a bad transformer, but there could be other issues as well. Let me take this back off, do some poking around, because there is corrosion on a lot of stuff like right there. So let me do some poking around, do some testing, maybe replace some components. I'll get that degauss coil connection hooked up and kind of come back and see where we're at with that point. If I find anything, I'll denote it on camera. If not, I'll do some replacing of parts and we'll turn it back on this way and see what we can find. Well, I think my hypothesis is about to become a theory, because if we look at this transformer here, one winding, these two legs here are one winding right here, and we get 27 ohms. And these two over here, 0.4. Now if we do the same thing on this one, we get 0.4. Now if we go to these two legs that were 27 ohms on the other one, it's open. Completely open. So we have an open transformer. Again, if we go to those same two legs over here, we get 27 ohms. If we go to those two legs on this one, open. So, yep, I've seen that before too, and it turns out that's the likely scenario on this one. Yeah, I mean, if we go to the top legs here, can we duplicate this on the top legs? If we go to these two legs here, 0.4, these two legs, open. Nothing. I think the lines have corroded off. What about our linearity coil here? Is this still good? That one's still good. Yep. Well, now again, in comparison, if we do the same on this one, and we go to these two legs here, we get 0.4, these two, 27. Go back to these two, nothing. Well, that'll do it. So let's get this one out of here. If you go back and forth across the pads real quick, you can just yank these out pretty quick. But all right, so this is my one of my many donors I have sitting around, obviously. But all right, now let's get this one out of here. I'm going to use actual braid on this one. I don't want to damage any pads or anything. Come on. Man, this old solder is just junk. Gonna add some fresh stuff to this, because the old stuff just does not want to flow worth a darn. There we go. All right. There we go. And you can really see the corrosion on this puppy here now. Just, yeah. I'm not surprised it's open at all. So, I mean, you compare it to this one, and it's just, yeah. All right, so let's get this one in here. And I realize now it needs to go this way. Come on. What is your problem? We're going to have to get the solder off these legs because it doesn't want to go through the holes. See if that works. Okay, so this side is the 27. So yeah, I was backwards on that as suspected. There we go. All right, so this should be the 0.4. This should be the 27. Booyah. Okay. You couldn't see that, sorry about that, but it's correct. All right, that's in there. Let's see what happens now. All right, so with the new transformer installed, let's turn it on and see. I promise this time I've actually got everything hooked up properly. We're ready to read B+ if it does work, and turn that on. Okay, I've lost count on how many times I've even tried this, and I also, in my haste, after finding that, I forgot again to hook up I went to hook stuff up, I'm like, oh, I forgot that degauss cable again, but we'll get that connector, don't worry. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, something is very wrong. Let's try that again. Something is not happy, and I don't think it's a power supply problem. I am skeptical of this flyback because of that cap being bulged right there. Let me put in a known good flyback and see what that does. Okay, making progress here. I changed out the flyback. It made no difference. Here's the one that was installed. I put a replacement in there, made no difference. And just for the hell of it, even though we know our power supply was okay, I was wanting to make sure without any qualms or beyond a shadow of a doubt that the switch mode power supply chip wasn't at fault, because it kept trying to power up and then go down and power up and go down. So I changed it out, no difference. So I went over to the only place that showed any signs of any issues, this cap over here that was swollen. And right next to it is R235. And R235 resides right there. I've already got it removed, and it comes off of the number 10 post or terminal of the flyback, and it's the schematic actually refers to it as a flame-proof resistor. And what I assume that means is that it's like a fusible link, where if something shorts on the flyback, it'll open up that resistor before it causes other damage. So it turns out that if we go to ohms here, let's zoom out a bit. If we go to ohms here, and you can see I got my leads here with the original R235 and it's wide open. If I disconnect it and hook it back up, we may get a little bit of an indication here, but no, it's completely open. So R235 coming off of the number 10 pin off the flyback, open. If we grab another one here off of the donor chassis that I was using earlier and clip that on here, 233K. If we take this one back off and grab the one that we took out of our problem chassis here that we're working on, put it back on, we get nothing. So R235 is open. So I am going to replace it with this one from the donor chassis, and let's fire back up and see what happens this time. Alright, so progress has been made. I did have to go back a few steps, and I'll explain that in a moment. But you can see I got that new R325 installed, and it didn't make any difference. I turned it on, and it still kept trying to power up and shut down, you know, whoop, and then shut down, and whoop, and shut down. Same problem that it was having. So at that point, I grabbed a working Hantarex Polo and used that chassis for comparison readings against this one. And we know it wasn't a power supply problem. That's good. So I went through and checked all the components from the output side on here to the working one, and I found no other bad components except for that R325. Nothing was bad. So I thought, okay, maybe it could be the tube and or the yoke. So I grabbed the tube that was being used on that working Polo, put this on there, and you'll never guess, it turned right on and worked fine. There's an occasional ticking sound. I don't know what that is. We'll have to figure that out later, but it worked. So the problem is a bad tube and or yoke. And I ohmed out the yoke, and it ohms out correctly. So we'll have to put the rejuvenator on the tube, see if we can figure out what's going on with it. Maybe it's a tube issue, but this is a known good working tube with this problem chassis that we've been troubleshooting, and it works just fine. So I did not want to throw away or dismiss a possible good working flyback. So I took the one I put in here out, put the original one back in that was in here, and check this out. Oh, we're already still on. 1, 2, 3. Comes right on. There's an occasional ticking sound. Now it's not going to do it, but look, it freaking works. Oh, this thing is making a noise, but look, it freaking works. Nice stable picture. Of course, we're out of adjustment because I put all these to the medium position. Oh, there it goes. I don't know if it's that flyback that's causing that occasional tick, and when it does it, the image changes, and you can hear the high-pitched noise it's making. So I may end up putting a different one back. Oh, there it goes. Anyway, it's working. So I'm going to try and change this out to the other tube here quick, and all live here. And yeah, you can see this is the one that doesn't have that sticker there, and this is the Midway Games one. So I think this one might have come out of an MK2, quite honestly. But yeah, every so often it goes this tick, and the image kind of jumps. But anyway, so look, it's working. So all we had bad caps. We had bad caps, an open R325 or 235? 235. Bad caps, open 235, and an open T102. Is that what that is? I don't remember. TH102. Am I thinking on that right? Whatever that is, TH102. Yeah, anyway, sorry you couldn't see, but this thing. So we had a bad transformer, bad caps, and an open R235. Anyway, okay, so that got the chassis all up and going. Cap kit, reflow, the resistor, and the transformer. Gosh, it's been a long day. So all those components now got the chassis up and running, but now we have a bad tube and or yoke. So I'm going to put you back on the overhead here, kind of upside down, and we're going to try and swap out this setup here real quick. Okay, let's disconnect the test pattern generator and the remote board and the power. Flip this around and I'll disconnect. I don't know if you can even see here, sorry, probably not. I'll disconnect the neck board and the DAG ground and the anode cap and the degauss. Did I mention I got the degauss connector hooked up or installed? I probably didn't. Okay, so now, oh, and the yoke. Okay, so that's off. Let's get rid of this tube. And here's the original tube. Now I had mentioned that this one was, the phosphor was a bit dark and I could tell it was a high usage tube. It doesn't really have any really necessarily bad screen burn, but the phosphor is much darker, indicating that it's been, you know, shot at by the color guns for a long time. Okay, now, okay, let's hook up the anode. Okay. Where's the yoke? Here it is. We get the DAG ground. Hook that up. Now, of course, yeah, you can see I got the degauss connector finally installed after all those times I meant to, never did. And then now we can hook the neck board up. Okay, so we have anode, neck, yoke, ground, remote. We need power. I'm not going to hook up video because it doesn't matter. Alright, now with that all hooked up, take it back off the overhead here and check this out. Same chassis we just saw working on the original tube and yoke. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yep. You hear that, whatever that was, struggling to power up? Yeah, that's not a good sign. We'll try it again here. Yeah, that's not good. So we got a bad tube. I don't know if it's tube or the yoke, but it's bad. And, you know, I probably could have tried my hand at this for hours and hours and hours trying to figure out what was wrong, and it turns out it's just a bad tube or yoke. Fortunately, I had another one of these on hand to try, so that worked out just fine. So, again, we just had these faulty components. The chassis is now repaired. Stay there, you. The chassis is now repaired, but now we got to figure out what's going on with this tube. I want to try and salvage this. I mean, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to. If we take the yoke and disconnect it, and we grab a meter here, we can actually read the yoke, and if we go to the horizontal winding, we get 1.5, that's fine, and if we go to the vertical winding, we get, should be around 5 something, 5.6. So the yoke isn't shorted or open. I'm thinking it's a tube problem. So actually, you know what? Let's hook this back up. And let's grab the rejuvenator and see what we can get. We'll put it over here and get the camera set up on the overhead, and we'll see if we can figure out what's going on with this tube. Alright, so we have this hooked up on the tube over here, ready to go. We're turned on. So we can turn all these down here. Okay, so we start by setting our heater voltage to 6.3. It won't get to 6.3. I'm maxed out and it's only it's 6.3. We'll give it a few moments here to heat up because it could simply be faulty because the heater needs to warm up for a while, I can't say. But we're dead on 6.3. So we'll go to heater leakage. No heater leakage, that's good. G1 leakage, no G1 leakage, that's good. G1 voltage you want to set to about 50. So we go to 50. Okay, now G2 cutoff for red. I don't have the things on top are missing with the dot to indicate where you're at, but I'm all the way over on red. So I want to put this about, right between the A and the D. And you want to go slow here. I got nothing. The red gun is dead. Nothing. Green. Nothing. Blue. Nothing. Read emission. Blue, nothing. Green, nothing. Red, nothing. I got nothing. Oh, sorry about that, my phone rang. So anyway, yeah, we are dead. G1 voltage is 50, that's good. We have no G1 leakage, no heater leakage. The heater, now that it's warmed up, we can go back down to 6.3, there we go. We go to G2 cutoff voltage for red. And nothing. We either have a vacuum, the tube has either lost vacuum, which I don't see any damage to it, or all three guns are dead. I have never seen anything like this before. Green, nothing. Blue, red, nothing. It's read emission, blue, green, red. Nothing is shorted. Nothing. I've never seen anything like this. The tube, I don't think the tube has lost vacuum because you'd hear it. It'd make arc and sparks and all kinds of stuff inside the neck. But we just don't have anything. I wonder if I went to remove shorts, if that would do anything. Red, green, blue. Clean and balance, is that going to do anything? Dead, doesn't do anything. I can hear this going, I can hear this, the pitch of this transformer in here making different noises. Maybe you can hear it. Probably not. But we've got a dead tube, my friends. Never seen anything like this. Yep. Wow. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate, but we got a dead picture tube, completely dead. All the guns are dead. I don't think it's lost vacuum, but I think the yoke is good. Unfortunately, it's a bonded yoke, so I can't just take it off and put a 7000. I got a 7000 yoke right here, but I can't just take the yoke off and use it on a different tube because it's dead. That's unfortunate. Well, at least we got a working Polo out of it. I got it for free, so I can't complain. I really want to try and figure it out, though. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Is the heater even glowing? No, the heater isn't even glowing. The heater in the neck is dead. That's why it doesn't work. So, yeah, if I turn it off and then set heater voltage, 6.3, it warmed up, but the heater itself, here you can't see it. The heater is not glowing at all. The heater is dead, the tube is dead, it's done. Oh, that's unfortunate. Now, how in the heck would that have happened? I'm sure the chassis probably died and they left it running and it did something to the heater and killed the tube, but oh well. Yeah, like Yeah, I touched the tube itself, the heater, and it's ice cold. So I mean, it's unfortunate. Now, I mean, I do have it hooked up and working. The cable's hooked up to the back of the tube, and yeah, everything is set properly. 6.3, no leakage. G1 voltage is 50, but it's all, they're all dead. Oh well, let's take this one and put it on the working tube and do some fine tuning and touches and see if we can make it look good and call it fixed. And I don't know what that occasional snapping is about. It does cause the image to kind of jump. I may put the other flyback back on here and see if maybe it's a flyback issue. That may be the last hurdle for us to tackle. But let's at least put it on a working tube and do some adjustments to get it looking good, and we'll have to take this tube and haul it off to the recycler or something. That's very unfortunate. The yoke is bonded, so there's no reason to even try and take the yoke off. But I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's see what we can do with the other tube. All right, so back on the working tube, I got a brand new flyback in. This is the flyback, one of the many flybacks that Peter at Arcade Parts and Repair has sent to me to do some testing on from a new batch, so I might as well use this opportunity to do so. So it does operate and work. We'll let this run for 24 hours, make sure it passes the burn-in test. I decided to take the original one out because it was making those high-pitched noises and the popping, and I'm 99.9% sure the popping was from this, and certainly the high-pitched whines and noises was from this, which means it's on its way out. It's on its way out, so I don't trust it. Even though it works, I might keep it as a spare in an emergency situation. Emergency situation, easy for me to say, but it's definitely on its way out. Whenever you hear the flyback making those high-pitched whines or high-pitched noises, it's on its way out. So I decided to go ahead and just put a brand new one in since I need to do some testing on these for Peter anyway. So we have, I got it all back together. We can adjust B+ through that hole if we need to. I'm set to read it, so hopefully it's around 138 or so like it needs to be. We're all hooked up, ready to go. I have the adjustment peg here at the ready for controls and color. And let's see what we get. 1, 2, 3. Okay, first power up with the new flyback. And it works. But we're 136, should be 138. We're close to 138. And, okay, let's turn this down. They used to ship with the flyback, the screen pot all the way down. Now for some reason they ship with the screen pot all the way up. So let's turn our brightness all the way down, contrast all the way down, and now let's turn up our screen pot till we get raster lines. Well, we're not going to get raster lines. Let's turn it down till it's, for some reason I got no raster lines. I got no raster lines. But let's turn this down till it's black right there. Now we can turn this on, and there we go. And we're at 136.8, but I'll bet you if we turn up our brightness and contrast, that's brightness, I have almost no brightness control. That's all the way down, that's all the way up. Interesting. What about contrast? Oh yes, I have contrast. We'll put contrast right about there. That looks pretty good. And we're even lower now for some reason, but let's adjust our focus. Oh my lord, look at how crispy that is. Crispy, crispy, crispy. All right. Well, there we go. We don't have any linearity issues. It all looks okay. Let's go to... Dang, that looks good. Man. Let's go to our... Right there. Okay, we do have a little linearity issues here compared to the middle. Let's get the camera on the tripod and do some adjustments here. All right, so our B+ is still 136.3, so we'll probably have to do some tweaking on that, but it's close enough to 138 where it's not going to cause a problem. Let's go ahead and adjust our H amp. H amp is going to be our size. Oh yes, when we go to the correct width, we have the linearity seems good, but we need to adjust our linearity pot for vertical. H phase is roughly there. Not bad. A little bit of linearity issue, but not bad. Let's adjust our vertical position. We'll go right there. Vertical amp is size. Voila. Okay, now let's adjust our linearity for our vertical, which is going to be here. And that pot is scratchy. That might be about as good as I can get it. It's not perfect, but I'll say that's okay. Well, let's go through to, I mean, yeah, I can't say enough about that. It's good to go. Let's hook up an actual, can I do that? Let's hook up Mortal Kombat, my Mortal Kombat board. Let's hook that up and see how good that looks, but it's going to take me a few moments to get some connections ready because the Polo, of course, only has 6 pins, and I got to figure out how to modify my 10-pin connector from the JAMA harness to work on here. So give me a minute, I'll come back, we'll get that figured out and see how good we can make it look with adjusting colors and stuff for an actual PCB. Okay, MK board's hooked up. Let's see what we get with MK1. Okay, with actual PCB, we're closer to 138. We got 137.0. And let's adjust H phase as position. Let's go ahead and skip past all this. It's a bit dark. We'll turn it up. Okay, H phase, H position seems to be about right. Get some contrast on this sucker. Dang, look at that. Man, I'd say we're good to go. Why is it, oh, I just looked in the viewfinder. Why is the refresh rate going so haywire there? I think there's something about the Polo that does that. I'm sorry about the refresh rate. Can I zoom out a bit? Nope. Zoom in a bit? Nope. It's even worse. Well, I'm sorry about that. I don't want to give anybody a seizure. But colors are pretty good. I got all of them set to the middle, like I mentioned before. And just by default, this tube has been rejuvenated. So yeah, it makes sense with them being in the middle. It looks good. Nice. Okay, well, there you have it, guys and gals. 25-inch Hantarex Polo revived after cap kit, a bad transformer, and an open resistor. And the flyback worked, but it has high-pitched noises and causes a ticking. I don't know what that is, but it went away with this new flyback, so the flyback was on its way out. So, yeah, that's about it for the review. Cap kit reflow, new parts, new caps, good to go. So nothing too difficult, but that I was getting thrown for a loop there because of that bad picture tube. So that's a real bummer. I don't know what could have caused that, but the entire heater, the heater itself is dead. That's what's wrong with it. The heater is dead, and there's no way to fix it. So got to take that tube off to the scrap heap and save the frame, and that's about all I can use from that. But at least we got a working, good chassis out of the deal, so yeah. Let me know what you think. I don't know really what's up with that brightness control. I have brightness control, but yeah, you can see that I've got, well, maybe you can't. Let's go to the test menu here. It works if I zoom in. So that's all the way down. That's up, down. You can see that it does work, but it doesn't really have that big of a difference. I'm sure I'll figure it out, but we'll consider it okay for now. I may revisit this later and see if we can figure out what's up with the brightness, but it does work. Image is perfect. Nothing I can say bad about this. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something. Like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time. Liu Kang. Round one. Fight. Haja! Bloop. 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 Liu Kang wins. Fight. Get that out of here! Bloop! Not today. Well, maybe today. This controller is no good. Bloop, bloop, bloop. One more time, gotcha. Alright, so, yeah. Sorry you had to watch that through the refresh rate. But anyway, thanks again. See you next time.